that starts off, you know, our usual segment, but we got to get into NXN. And what was critical was the committee deciding upon these at-large bursts and whether they were the correct choices.
Yes.
So.
And we have a quick graphic we're going to throw up here that shows you what the official wording is from the committee as to what they are looking for. Corey, if you want to read us through this here.
So the greatest weighting by the committee will be given to the third-place clubs from the championship race at each regional who defeated any eventual NXR champion in prior weeks. In order for the weighting to be employed for the third-place clubs, the victory must have occurred when at least 5 club members from the eventual NXR championship club competed in the same race as the aforementioned loss.
So this is really, I mean, what this really boils down to is what do we know? And their answer is not a lot. We don't have a lot of information as to what is looked at. That's a pretty basic level. It's one small thing. We know it's impossible to judge an entire cross-country season based on that one metric. But even looking at that, there's already things that come into question in terms of the teams that were announced. When we look at this, you know, we're going to talk about these teams or our thoughts. It's certainly not an indictment of any of these programs. We're more looking here at the process and trying to analyze whether decisions were made. I mean, based on that information, I think the answer is no.
It boils down to utmost importance goes to the third-place team, and then whether that team has beaten any auto qualifiers.
Right.
That's what's given to us. I think we can assume, or it's safe to assume, that other variables such as state championship wins, team average, maybe previous history at NXN, they play a difference too. I think out-of-state competition, these things play difference. It might not be written down, but 9 committee members from each region, they all get together and they vote, and it has to be majority vote for these teams to get in for at-large bursts. So it's not like one person's voting on this team to get in and gets in. It's a consensus among all the 9 committee members.
And for our viewers catching up to speed, if you could list them through what the actual teams were that did receive those bids. You've got them all written down here. I'm probably forget it off the top of my head.
Yeah, so the at-large burst on the girls' side, Claremont, they were the third-place team in that overall merge. We had Broomfield from Colorado, who qualified last year. We also have Saratoga Springs from New York, and Blacksburg of Virginia, who finished 3rd at the Southeast region. On the boys' side, we had St. Francis of California, Timpanogos of the Southwest region.
Oh, man. Timpanogos, Utah fans, I got your back.
And Desert Vista as well from the Southwest. So those are 2 at-large bursts from the Southwest. And our last berth goes to Green Hope from the Southeast region. Had a really great season.
Yeah, there's certainly a lot of teams that deserve to be at nationals from this group. I think they chose a lot of strong programs who have had really good resumes. They finished 3rd in their region and kind of hit the criteria as mentioned there. But to me, there are a couple that stand out and 2 that have really got a lot of people talking pretty immediately on Twitter as well. Saratoga is the first one. That looking at their resume, certainly in regards to the criteria listed on that, this is not a team that should have been selected to Nike Cross Nationals. They've had a rocky start to their year where they didn't really have any decent wins leading up until Feds. They finished 9th at Great American. They were back and forth even at the Section 2 meet at Suburban Council. They didn't make it to the state meet because Shen beat them at the Section 2 meet, but they did bounce back at Feds. They beat Shen, Monroe Woodbury, John Jay Cross River, and came back and beat those teams again at the regional. But they don't have any strong wins. They don't have a good 1 through 5 average. I mean, Camille, we hear, was sick, so she didn't have her best race.
Well, you even look at Federation, their 1-2 spread between Kelsey Camille and Carly Vetter is nearly 2 minutes. Most teams, their spread are under a minute, maybe even 2 minutes in total. But right there, 2 minutes between 1 and 2, that just does not tell me that this team is very strong overall. So.
And their one win, true win to their credit this season, is Feds. When we look at Shen has been in our rankings this year. They had a strong program, just got 4th at the regional, but those other teams aren't necessarily noticeable or resume-building programs. And for Saratoga, you don't really see what that process was, how this team got chosen. Kelsey Camille being sick, she finished 12th. I don't know if it's a play to get her to the national championship, in which case the only way you can do that is by bringing in their whole team since she was outside the individual qualifying. But Saratoga seems like a bit off of the radar, and that kind of consistent, trying to understand that is I think what most people are frustrated with this process every year and looking for more transparency. Doug Souls, big friend of MileSplit Live, big MileSplit Live guy.
Yeah.
Certainly outspoken. He had a couple responses that we're going to throw to in a second here on our screen, tweeting that without a doubt our 2014 team, they won the D1 title, finished 4th in the merge, but he was told since they were 4th, they weren't selected over other regions 3s, and that is something that does lie into what we saw there. Right. But since then, there's 4s that have been selected that don't make sense. And again, there needs to be more insight into the process, and everyone on the committee needs to be listed with how they voted to make this more transparent. There's been a lot of discussions even within our group today all morning about this. Matt, I know you had some thoughts here in terms of what he's saying about the committee being more open. What was your mindset when thinking of how this process could be improved?
We can argue about Saratoga's selection all day long, but I thought at the very least the NXN selectors should come out and give an explanation for why they picked Saratoga over seemingly more deserving teams based on their own criteria. So each week we see in the college football playoff rankings reveal, the selection committee will at least come out and say why they ranked each team where. And it's sort of sad that the NXN selectors will do their selection in private and don't come out and at least give some reasons for their selection of Saratoga, for example. If they just want Kelsey Camille in their race and that's why they took Saratoga, then by all means that can be a reason, but at least give the explanation to the people that want to know and have reasons to think their own team's more deserving.